Okay, we are live. Welcome to Gotham Sound TV. I am very excited to be here for our Gotham Sound TV with Aaron Cujo Cooley, CAS, and with Karl Winkler. Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Okay, so, we're here basically because, Cujo, you did a very, very intense job recently, and I really thought we should try and talk about it a little bit. I'm just checking for comments. Good. So far, so good. Cujo, first of all, let's start with where are you?
Right now, as you can see behind me, I'm in a fairly small room. I have just entered quarantine for the next 3 weeks at Tyler Perry Studios, where I will be mixing the next 2 TV shows. And Mr. Perry and Tyler Perry World has built an amazing quarantine camp here with full service amenities. We all have great rooms and great places to stay. And we come in and they close the gate behind us, and then we go to work for 3 weeks, and then we go home. And it's definitely a different way to do filmmaking, but the beauty is that doing it this way has prevented any COVID from infiltrating the sets at 100% success rate. So
amazing.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Not for everybody, but it is very cool.
I think it's pretty amazing. All right, I'm just going to center myself. All right. So my first question, and the reason why we're here really is you got this call for a kind of intense gig. I wonder if you could tell us about it.
So back in late May, early June, I got a phone call from a producer friend of mine who said he was line producing a giant commercial that was going to happen in Atlanta that involved some pretty amazing stunt car work for a big car brand called Kia, and asked me if I was interested and available, and I said yes. And then they said, well, we're going to do a stunt with the cars, and we're going to broadcast it live, and we need you to be the point man for the sound department. I was like, okay, great. I said, what else can you tell me? And he said, we're going to do live to the world. We're going to send broadcast feeds to the producers around the United States and broadcast feeds to the producers in the UK. And it's all COVID compliant. So you can't be close to set because of COVID and because of the stunt. And that's all I can tell you right now. Stand by for news. So I waited a few weeks, and I finally got the call that everything had been approved. The basic technical question that was asked of me by the people in production were, do you have a lot of microphones? And I said, yes. And they said, great, how many do you have? And I said, well, how many do we need? And they said, a lot of them. So I said, what do you want to do? And they said, we need to microphone everything, but it's a stunt, so we don't know how you want to do that. And that was about all of the technical conversation that was available. So I knew that I was going to feed a broadcast truck for dissemination unto the world. And after that, I really had no direction on what they wanted to do. So I brought the world with me. I brought my RF remote box, affectionately called the Millennium Falcon, which is a name that was given by my good friend Marcus Petruska, because he saw the pictures of it, and I said, well, it's kind of raggedy and doesn't look like much. And he said, yeah, it's a Millennium Falcon. It doesn't look like much, but it's got it where it counts.
Do you have a picture you could share?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pull a picture up here real quick and see what I've got here. I don't know if I have a full size picture of it. So that's just a close up view of the box, and it's got a Ferrofish A32 Dante rack here at the top. There's a D squared and an M2T right there for my wireless receiver and transmitter. And then I've got 2 racks of wideband low venues that I turn into the Dante stream up here through the Ferrofish. Okay. So everything, the analog signals come out of the venues, go into the Ferrofish as an analog signal, and then they come out as a Dante and join the D squared and M2T. And then, all right, so that is a picture of a 4-strand single mode fiber optic cable. That is, if I remember correctly, it's at least 1,000 feet. It might be 1,250. And I bought this or got this from my friends over at Gotham Sound. Peter helped me out with that. And up here in the top right-hand corner of that picture is the converter box that converts.
I think we lost Cujo, but that's okay. Karl, let's pivot and let's talk about some of the technology that I know Cujo was going to get to, which was Wireless Designer.
Sure. Yeah, I had asked him if he's using the latest features of Wireless Designer that just got into the software with an update a couple of weeks ago, and he said yes, that it's indispensable, and this has to do with the concept of band planning. So now you can actually apply custom ranges to every channel. You used to be able to create an offline custom channel and specify its tuning range, and now you can do that with all the channels. And so this is really important if you got a lot of channels, particularly if you're mixing comms and IEMs and wireless mics. And I think he said, and he'll go into more detail in a little bit when we get it back.
He just texted that his laptop died.
Oh my! Wow.
All right. So
okay.
yeah. All right.
It's that kind of day.
We'll wing it.
But he was saying he puts his duet channels in one region and then his boom mic transmitters in another specific slot of frequencies, and then he puts his talent mics, his lab mics, in yet another slot. So none of those step on each other, and they have a little bit of room to move without crossing over. And before this feature, if you did a coordination automatically, it would basically space the channels like wherever the computer thought was a good idea, which may or may not be good for something like band planning purposes. So
it's funny because it's
tempt fate.
Well, all right. I was going to say it's funny because it's it's the curse of wideband, right?
Right. Exactly right. Yes. Now that everything's wideband, and it's been heading that way for a while, but more and more. So something like the Duet and the DSQD, they have exactly the same tuning range. So if you want to keep one in a certain area of the spectrum and one in a different area, you either have to do it manually or now with the new feature, it's much easier. So
share your screen and let's see how this goes.
Let's share the screen and temp fate here.
All right.
And let's see. Where that feature is, it's in 2 places really, but if you're doing frequency coordination, you can pick these ranges over here, specify a custom range on that channel, and then tell it where you want it to start and stop. And that way, it will only move within that range while you are doing any automatic tuning or even manual tuning. It just restricts the tuning range. So let's just say 470 to 520 for that particular channel. And now that's in play.
Here we go. I am so sorry about that, guys.
No worries. Go ahead and jump in. We were just talking about Wireless Designer and the custom tuning ranges, which you and I had chatted about earlier.
The custom tuning ranges are great.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm using them here at Tyler Perry. We have with all of my rig built up the way that I need it to be for working here. I have 32 channels of wireless coming in on D squared, all D squared wireless receivers. I have 18 DBU transmitters, 2 of the DPR digital boom transmitters, and the rest of them are all, most of them are wideband wideband SM transmitters, and I have a few, like 2 or 3 single band or single block SM transmitters. So in order to manage 30, well, I've got 32 channels coming in, and then I've got 8 discrete IFB sends going back out over M2T to various receivers. And also I'm sending a custom feeds to the Riedel camera comm system that they have in place over here.
Right.
So in order to manage all of that, I've got, and using the custom tuning blocks or bands that you can just select wherever you want it to be. I've got the boom transmitters blocked into a very nice tight little package so that I always know where my boom transmitters are. Yeah. And then my IFB sends, I have those set up in a nice little package that keeps them all together. And then the rest of my wireless, I have open to the rest of the spectrum. And by doing that, it allows me to just have everything packaged in nice little places where I know where everything is at a glance, as opposed to just having. Did you have any rules?
Cujo, did you have any rules about what's how far apart certain things had to be?
No. It's the glorious thing about being here is that I am allowed to. I am granted the authority to do whatever it is that I need to do, as far as packaging the wireless, because it all comes from my department, with the caveat that says 0 failure. Do whatever you need to do, but don't tell us it's broke or that you can't do it. And they, the people here that are in charge, allow me a fair budget and a fair manpower package, and then I augment that with a very nice gear package that lets it all happen.
Nice. All right. So with the just waiting for the echo cancellation to kick in. There we go. All right. So with this sort of layout that you had for the commercial, and it was a commercial. Is that right?
Yeah, it was a commercial for Kia introducing their new K5 automobile.
Walk me through those first few minutes or the first hour that you get on set. How much prep time did you have? What was that like?
I had we had 2 days of test and prep before we went live to streaming. Mm-hmm. And all of that prep included testing the cars and testing the jumps and making sure that the stunt department was doing all of the things that they needed to do. So day one was essentially a full technical build where I showed up and met up with the people from the broadcast truck to find out what they needed to have and what they wanted and what they needed me to deliver. At which point we determined that the broadcast truck had no IFB capabilities. They did not really have much in the way of handheld mics for their talent. They were basically providing a camera package and an uplink package, and that was about it. Mm-hmm. So we learned quickly that I was going to be doing all the wireless for the drivers in the cars, plant mics for the cars to get the car noises, and basically an unlimited or dealer's choice number of plant mics around the arena so that I could get all the car sounds, plus IFB sends and mix minus sends for the on-air talent, Comtech feeds for the creatives, a listen station for the producers, which basically I ended up having them set up in a tent down at the far end, and I put a big JBL speaker in there so that they could just listen to what was happening instead of having 30 Comtechs running around and charging them for a bazillion headphones that would have been lost or damaged or COVID nastied. I just stuck a speaker in there for them.
Smart.
So yeah, it got really big really fast.
And I wonder if you can share your photo of the sort of Google Earth image.
Oh yeah. Give me one sec here. Let's Let's see if I can pull that up.
Just so people can get a lay of the land.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important to see that so that people just understand how big it is. Just for scale, this down here in the bottom right-hand corner is Interstate 85 in Norcross, Georgia, which is about probably 12 lanes of traffic right there. This box in the top of the image, top center, this is what I affectionately call the Blue Lagoon. And you can see there's a little bit of blue paint on the ground. This is where mega shows from Marvel and other big companies do gigantic green screen. This is about 135 to 140,000 square feet of space that is built using shipping containers that are stacked about 5 or 6 units tall. Okay. So in a giant TV production, all of this wall space would be covered with either green screen or blue screen. And this is where we did the stunt. It was a jump. And you can go to YouTube and you can watch the live stream where they did what they call a triple threat, which is 2 cars crossing in midair and another car underneath doing a 180-degree slide. 3 cars all at once in the same spot. Over here on the left side, the screen left side of that is where the broadcast truck was parked and where my trailer was parked. I don't know if you can see the mouse moving.
Yes, we can.
My trailer was parked there. The broadcast truck was parked right here next to me. And then I ran my remote box. I ran the Millennium Falcon to roughly this area right here, which is about 500 feet away from me. So, yeah, I had 500 feet of run there. And then I covered this entire area with the Millennium Falcon and 2 shark fin antennas. And the reason why I was able to do that was because of Wireless Designer. I would have been absolutely destroyed without Wireless Designer in here.
So tell me about that. Did you scan with Wireless Designer to find clear frequencies, or did you have an outboard scanner?
No, I use Wireless Designer as my primary scan tool. I don't own any other outboard scanning devices. And I ran scans about every 3 hours for 2 days so that I had a solid stack of scans that I could use in comparison one to the other to see if anybody out there was turning on anything or coming up with some new device. And so I just ran a stack of scans for several days for 2 days to make sure that I had clear frequencies and used Wireless Designer to coordinate everything.
Nice. And I think at this point, I'm going to wait for your echo cancellation to kick in. There we go. Karl, this is a good segue for you to share your screen with Wireless Designer.
Yeah. Let's see here.
There we go. Nice.
There we go. Okay, so here's the scan screen that he's talking about there. And this is the scan in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is probably not as bad as Atlanta, I wouldn't think, outside. But what we see is a lot of TV. There's a couple nice slots. And then here's my carrier over here, upper part of block 22 for my mic that I'm using to talk to you guys. And then when he was talking about the custom ranges, I was getting into that just for a minute. But that's up here. You can go channel by channel and choose a custom range to keep certain parts of the system sequestered, if you will, to their own region so they don't step on each other. It's great for band planning. And then you can do automatic frequency coordination. But I also like to show that if you grab these carriers and pull them around, you can actually see how they interact, and the little orange third order intermods down here will begin to move. But normally you would let the computer pick your channels. And I'm sure you do this too, Cujo, but I generally pull down my threshold of acceptance to as low as possible while still leaving a little bit of room underneath it for my channels. Yeah, that's an important trick, because if you leave it at the nominal 10 dB microvolts, you may not get as good a range if you're really looking for range. So if you want it to pick channels that are as clean as possible, just lower that threshold down as far as you can. And I've had some people ask me though, why can't I raise it up above 20 millivolts, dB microvolts? And my answer is, if your noise floor is all the way up there, you need to look at your system, and you probably have too much gain, or maybe you need to add some filtering or some attenuation, because it's not going to work well if you have a noise floor that's completely blanketing all frequencies that high. So
I'm going to also throw in another pro tip. Sometimes if it won't coordinate at 10, but I know that there's space there, I'll push it up to close to 20 and let it coordinate, and then slowly bring it back down. For some reason, if I've got a lot of frequencies in a very busy environment, it'll time out on me. I'll run out, and the 60 seconds will run out, and it'll fail to coordinate. So I'll chop it down a little slice at a time. I'll go for 20, and then I'll bring it down to 15, and bring it down to 10. And sometimes that will help me get a tighter coordination pattern.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and one other thing I want to point out is the zoom feature, which if it looks like there's a ton of noise in there, if you zoom in, you'll actually start to see cracks that go down below that threshold. Like there's a good example, and up here is another one. And you could probably fit a couple channels in there if you look closely enough. When you see the whole spectrum, and as was mentioned before, everything's been going wideband. It's hard to imagine that's like 6 blocks wide what we're showing here. So you do want to zoom in and see what's really going on in the cracks of that scan, because a lot of times you'll have to use those cracks for your channels.
Is there a rule of thumb about how little a crack you can get away with?
Well, as long as it is, a bigger crack than the channel you're trying to put in it, it should work.
Mm-hmm.
And, our channels occupy about 200 kilohertz roughly, just, as a rule of thumb. So look in closely and try to estimate that. I mean, it does, unfortunately, the scale doesn't start to get finer and finer at the bottom when it shows you the frequency, but I'm sure, Aaron, Cujo, you probably have gotten used to, where you can stick carriers and get away with it.
Yeah, I try to keep them, obviously spaced as far apart as I can, and I watch the intermod really closely. But there are times when Wireless Designer will come up with a plot, and I won't particularly care for it, so I'll have it coordinate a few more times. Not for any particular reason, other than I think sometimes I'm smarter than the computer, which is probably a little dangerous, but
no, I tend to agree with you.
Sometimes it puts things a little too closer together than I think, and I'm like, I want more space, and so I do that. And then other times, like when I'm here and I'm running almost 40 channels of wireless at any particular moment, I got to take pretty much whatever I can get and make small changes from there.
One of my favorite features of Wireless Designer is that you can grab anything that it coordinates and slide it around.
Yeah.
And it'll dynamically recalculate, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, I do that an awful lot.
Remember to deploy the system when you're done.
Yes.
So that it does tune. But I was going to point out, too, the custom ranges are available in 2 places if I can get the software to react. It doesn't seem like it wants to. Let's see if I go to here. Oh, I see what it's got. This card changes. Okay. If I come out to here, this is the detail view, and I'm double-clicking on one of these. Here's the other place where you can do the custom tuning range. Mm-hmm. Just so you know. So it's in those 2 different places. I always like to have it in a place. Depends on kind of your mental model of how you like to work or your workflow. If you're going channel by channel this way, this channel to the next channel to the next channel, you can set up those custom ranges right there. But if it's mostly frequency coordination that you're concerned with, this is the place where you find that there. So.
Yeah, we usually do it from the coordination page.
Sure.
That's
right.
Great. And so you did your scan, and you deployed your frequencies. What was next up for you on the job?
Basically, we had to determine what the producers actually wanted and what we could provide. Their only answer was, we want everything. Okay, fine. We want everything. So I took that as an open artistic challenge. So we put plant mics on the ramps. We put plant mics inside the cars. We put body packs on the stunt drivers. And we worked closely with the drivers and the stunt coordinator. I grew up on a racetrack, so I know that horrible things can happen in race cars. So we worked really, really closely with the stunt coordinator and the drivers so that we could get the transmitters up on the body of the driver, but not in a place that would cause physical harm. So what we ended up doing was we ended up putting the transmitter just inside their fire suit right here, just in their sternum. And that gave me the antenna space to get out of the car. And then I put the lav, we put right behind the zipper on their fire suit right here. That way they weren't sitting on a transmitter, burying the RF or potentially causing any kind of damage to their body if something happened with the car. I wasn't inside of a roll cage that was going to affect the RF transmission too terribly. Basically, the transmitter was almost level with an open window of the car. So we ended up getting some really, really fantastic distance out of the transmitters. And then we had handheld microphones for the talking head talent. We put a microphone on the second AD or the first AD, and we put a microphone on the stunt coordinator so that everybody could hear the walkie-talkie calls, because it made a nice little dramatic scene for him to be able to talk on the walkie and tell the drivers to go.
Nice.
And that's what we did.
And forgive me, I forget where we lost you. The fiber runs between between you. So you were how far away from the action?
I was in my trailer, mixing from there with my remote RF box located inside the arena, roughly 500 feet away from me. Somebody's knocking on my door and I don't know why. Hold on one second.
All right. Let me see if I could mute you.
Oh. Well, I like what? Chicken.
This is the one sort of amazing thing about this technology. We could do a three-way call, and I really, for the life of me, can't figure out how to mute Cujo.
Delivering my food.
Timing's everything.
Right. Timing's everything. So yeah, I was about 500 feet away from the action, and I ran all that over fiber. And do I need to pull that picture back up for you guys?
Yeah, sure. Let's take a look.
Okay. I'm so embarrassed about the weirdness that's going on in this place right now.
We were talking too about the network components, and you had basically you're converting Dante to fiber and then back, and then when you do your sends from like the M2Ts,
right,
those are coming from your remote box. So you're doing the audio sends over Dante, over fiber, back to Dante into the M2Ts, right?
Yes. So you should be able to see that picture there.
Yep.
So this little box up here in the top right-hand corner, that converts Ethernet signals into fiber signals. And I got this through Peter over at Gotham. This is a 1,000 or maybe 1,500 feet of fiber, 4-channel single mode fiber. So what I do is I take the signal from the Ferrofish. So the Ferrofish is basically the main Dante converter for the analog signals that are coming out of the wideband venues. This is a pair of wideband low venues. I come out of these analog and into the Ferrofish, and then from the Ferrofish into the Dante stream. And then I use the D² Dante output, and on the On the M2Ts, I also feed them Dante.
Got it.
Right.
And then that goes in the back of this box. I have an 8-channel switcher, or an 8-channel switch that converts everything, collectively and turns it into a single Cat5 cable that I run back to. When I'm close, I run that back to my cart. When I'm long distance, I convert it into fiber and send it that way.
Yeah, I just want to say a quick word about the fiber converter, that's the great thing about Dante is it really doesn't care. A media converter is going to happily carry it over whatever medium is capable of carrying Ethernet signals. So
it's surprisingly inexpensive.
Yes,
it really is. It's terribly inexpensive to make that conversion. And then at the same time, I also use that same cat cable to bring all the command and control back to the remote box from Wireless Designer, which, let me pull up a quick picture here of my cart. This is like the heart of the system. This is the meat and potatoes right here. So tell me when you have a picture there that you can see.
We got it.
Okay, so I've got a pair of PIX recorders one mirrors the other, so it's a perfect mirror and Dante input into both. The M32R console has the Dante card installed, and that does all the Dante conversion coming in. And here you see that I have Wireless Designer up on the screen. I also have the ability to switch screens and look at anything else that's in the network. But I can do all of this over the same cat cable that I'm bringing my Dante audio stream in. And so I have full command and control, even though my receivers are over 500 feet away from me. I have full command and control over the entire system right here.
That's huge. It's huge to be able to see the battery telemetry, to be able to see the RF telemetry. Absolutely huge.
Yeah, and if you look real close at this transmitter right here is taking a couple of hits for some reason. Who knows why? This is probably on one of the rehearsal days. And I can see that receiver right there just took a whack. And then I could, if I had to, I could troubleshoot that and find out what's going on.
Right.
Very cool. So we're getting a couple of questions. Danny, you're asking, is it the SFP port from the switch? No. So the SFP port is I actually don't know what SFP stands for, but it is a port, networking port that takes fiber modules. And we've done that before. We showed that in Atlanta, the SG350. This was really an inexpensive media converter I got off Amazon, and I'll try and put it in the links. I'll go into my Amazon shopping history and I'll just put it in the links to the chat. But yeah, it's a great tool to be able to pull out of your back pocket. I think at this point, I'm just going to solicit any questions. If anybody has any questions, I know, Ken, we got to your question in the comments and Danny yours, but yeah, I mean, I think this is sort of where it's at in terms of distant rigs, very, very COVID, topical in a sense to be able to remote the equipment so far away. But yeah.
And Peter, I was going to suggest too that for those that haven't seen it, if you can put the link to the commercial, the YouTube.
Jared's all over it. Jared already did that.
He did that. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, tell him to look up K5 Live, and there it is. Yeah. I just threw a screenshot real quick of the converter. This one's a multi-mode instead of single mode, but it's basically that same converter.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, there it is. It's $43 on Amazon.
You do need two.
Yeah, you do need two, one at each end.
Right.
And like all of this stuff, I think testing. I mean, I wouldn't, we tested it at the shop and then took it to Atlanta, and I mean, it is, you are sort of delving into what could be a murky world when you go to Amazon for this kind of thing. But, at $48, have backups.
Well, yeah, I have backups, and the other great thing is I built a cable where I can run these off of NP1, so I don't need a wall wart or anything like that. I can just run these off of my standard battery packages, and then there's also I know somebody's going to ask how I convert command and control on the wideband venues because they're analog. They don't have any kind of Ethernet capabilities. So Peter helped me solve that problem and found me a TPIP converter.
Yeah, it's like a USB server. It's a USB TCP/IP server. And the trick of that is that it installs a driver on your laptop that emulates a serial port. So from the application's point of view, it thinks it's talking to a serial port, but really it's reaching out over your LAN. Does not work over the internet. That's a whole different technology in a different seminar. But will work happily over your LAN to give you that command and control. And that I think is really, it's the other half of this rig.
Yeah, it is. And that runs off of a 5-volt. So I use a battery brick for like a cell phone charger brick to run that. And it will run at least all day on a standard, phone brick. And that gives me the in and out from the wideband venues.
Yeah.
And that works great.
Here, I'll try and pull it out of my Amazon history, which is a scary place to delve into.
That'd be great to show that. We do get questions about that occasionally, and we were recommending the global cache units for that as well. But
Jared,
those are serial to Ethernet.
Jared beat me to it.
He's already got it.
Yeah. Ken,
he's on it today.
Yeah,
he's on fire.
Thank you, Jared. Ken has another question, a good one. What is the antenna length? So from the RF, what's the antenna length from the rack to the antenna?
I have. I need to go find. I need to go find a better picture. But basically, I have a 2-wheel dolly cart that is. That has a C-stand bolted onto the back of it. And so my antennas can go about 12 feet in the air. And I have a 25-foot cable BNC set on my remote rack. So the antennas are at most at any given time no further than 25 feet away from the receivers because they all live on the same cart. So they're very, very close. Very close.
Those are nice short runs.
Yeah. Here, this is a very less sexy picture. Let me see if I can download that. Hang on a second. I keep talking. I'm going to find a couple more pictures. Here's another thing too that is really important is that I am a huge, huge, huge believer in making sure that I have filtration on my antenna system. I use brick wall filters that run from 470. They run their wideband brick wall filters. So 470 to 615 or 614, I think they are.
Are they RFNU or?
Yeah, they're RFNU.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have those, I believe, just hugely in them. And I will tell anybody that in order for you to do anything that's even remotely successful in in RF at this moment in time. If you're not running some type of filtration, you are seriously missing the boat. And I just don't know how to make it any clearer than that to people.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the WYSICOM filtered antennas. I think that they're great. And Karl, the PF25s and the PF50s, are those still current, or they're the PF
PF25s are a single block unit that we like a lot. When you can do that, you may want to sequester a receiver to a single block if you've got a good amount of open spectrum. But also wideband filtering is why we put that in the ALP 690 antenna.
Yes.
Is you've got up to plus 12 of boost, but also maybe even more importantly nowadays is up to -6 of attenuation, plus the wideband filter. And we've been, solving a lot of problems. Our technical sales team solves a lot of problems by bringing that antenna out there.
It's
amazing. Those are on my wish list. I don't normally run powered antennas. I think that probably 99% of the world in our world does not need a power antenna. If anything, they need attenuation on their antenna streams.
Exactly.
And that's why I want the ALPs, is so that I can do antenna attenuation. Can you guys see that picture that I put up of the cart?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay,
got it.
So that's it doesn't look like that right now. I've got to take a picture of the current iteration, but this was our basic build. Down here on the bottom, I have a camera block battery that can give remote power to this box. This is 125 feet of tactical duty Cat 6 cable. Of course, the RF remote box, and then these are the antennas that live on top of it. These are my receive antennas down here. This is my IFB transmit antenna up there, and they work either way. I flip them upside down or right side up as the situation demands. And even though I've got a transmit antenna right here near a receive antenna, I don't suffer too much problem with it. It seems to be and this is transmitting an M2T, so it's low wattage and it's digital. So I'm not blowing out the front end on my receivers.
I think too, the directionality of the receive antennas and the height difference. Karl, would you agree with that? That even that little height difference between the transmit and the receive antennas, does that help at all?
Yeah, it's the nulls are in play here a little bit. And so there's probably some natural attenuation from the antenna patterns going on, which I'm sure helps. Right.
From center line of this antenna to the center line of this antenna is probably almost 2 feet. It's a solid 18 inches, maybe 2 feet.
We have a question from John. So that solves the problem of not having DHCP in the chain because Dante... because Dante devices can find each other as long as they are connected. But I think wireless designer needs to see a real IP. I wonder if Cujo could talk about any IP schemes, addressing schemes that you had. But one shout out to Lectro I want to give is that you separate control and Dante, which I think is huge for this exact reason, where you can have one scheme for the Dante and one scheme for control if you want to.
Absolutely. That can be really important depending on the installation, but sometimes it does come up as a question of why aren't they on the same line? And it's well, you might not want them to be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'll echo Karl's statement on that. Depending on the complexity of your Dante setup, in a perfect world, you would want your Dante stream entirely separate from any command and control. Right down to separate switches for everything. I think in what we do, for the most part, that may be terrific overkill because we're working in such a closed system. I have 6 devices on my cart that are talking to each other on a very closed network. I'm not talking to. There's no reception office down the hall. I'm not tied into a building somewhere. It's completely It's completely separate from everything.
Hang on one second. Let me finish. All right. Well, I have to ask. I should say we should quit while I'm behind, anyways. But hang on one second. So I did have one comment and question to follow up with. I do think that it's important, even on like a computer, that, for example, right now I'm running Dante virtual sound card and I'm running the stream. I have two separate IP interfaces. And so that was the other thing that I wanted to add to your explanation, Cujo, was don't feel like you have to go with the Ethernet interface that's built into your laptop. You can get even a USB to Ethernet is a very, very helpful thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because then you can have your control on one and your Dante on another, and it's totally separate in your computer. Absolutely. Even to your computer. I think we got to all the questions. Nothing major caught on fire.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you guys want to add anything before we sign off?
From my point, it's great to be talking about these things because what we're dealing with technically is a moving target, and the challenges are changing weekly. And so to see like some of these larger scale applications, Cujo, that you've been involved with and what you're doing now with this technology is really cool because this is real world. You're making shows, you're doing a commercial, and this is how you're overcoming some of those obstacles, and they're not insignificant obstacles.
Yeah, I want to bring up this picture real quick just to show how far away. Can you guys see that? You see the big condors there?
Aha!
There it is.
We got it.
There we go.
Okay, right here is my fiber optic. One of these is my fiber optic run. My trailer is about 30 or 40 feet to the right edge of this frame, and way down there behind that condor is my antenna and my receivers. I don't even know if I can zoom in on it enough to make it where you can see it. No, that doesn't help. But yeah, that's how far away, and you can see the size of this facility. I mean, these are 40-foot storage containers stacked 5 high. It's a giant metal fishbowl, and there's several things that conspired to make this a success for the sound department on this shoot. Number one, we had really amazing gear that works natively over Dante. We had a robust network that was built with fiber optic in Dante. And we were able to coordinate all of that with Wireless Designer and be able to get all these frequencies dialed in and give us hundreds of feet of range inside this metal fishbowl. And I just can't really stress enough about how the Wireless Designer and the Electro and the fiber optic stuff that we got from you, Peter, how all of that just fell in. It didn't require. Look, I'm a stupid biker, and I made this work. So the technology is there, and it's not crazy difficult to use. If you think outside the box a little bit and just use the stuff that's available, it can be made to work pretty well.
Yeah. And thanks, Karl, for making such amazing tools.
Well, sure, that's the goal. We want to make the stuff that you guys are using for this kind of job, and all kinds of jobs. So great to see it. Like I say, it's great to see it out there, and great to see how you solved certain problems and made things work. And the combination of the fiber and the Dante is a really interesting application for the distancing. And there's more and more talk about that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You were out front with that, so thank you.
Did you guys pull the picture up of my current build?
Maybe it'll work. Nope.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah, that's what the Millennium Falcon looks like right now.
Cool.
UMC-16B at the top, and your receivers down following.
Yeah, there's an M2 antenna combiner down at the bottom to handle all the M2 antennas.
Okay.
Or at least combine everything into one.
Yeah.
So I've got 32 channels input right there, and then 8 channels out.
Nice.
And that's working pretty well right now. The beauty. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I wanted to share some comments about this. Not about this cart necessarily, but John says, were you the first person they asked? And if so, do they realize how lucky they got? Which is really nice. And then...
thank you, John, for that.
And what kind of Dante switches does your chicken prefer?
I was the only sound mixer that was asked to do this job. They did not seek out anybody else. And the chickens like the June bug flavors.
Nice. I think we really better quit while I'm behind at this moment. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your time. It's really good to see you. It's really good to see you healthy. Have a great shoot, Cujo.
Thank you so much.
It's another amazing journey you're on, and
this is a journey. Oh, and I gotta say one more thing about the spotlight antenna. Thank you so much for that.
Oh,
we went to Connecticut to do a show. Steve and I, my boom op, and 16-inch thick walls with real plaster lath and chicken wire inside, made for one hell of a Faraday cage, and a spotlight antenna really saved us.
Yes, I'm glad that we were able to help you out. Yeah, those old houses, they sneak up on you. I was in your shoes when you called a couple of years before on a film, and it could have been the same house, a Woody Allen film, and I thought it would be the easiest day, and nope, I was never sweating more. It's awful.
Man, it's terrible when you can't get a signal 10 feet.
10 feet. You just question everything. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. It's so good to see you, and we'll see you soon, I hope.